And we are live. Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is Ian Nethercott with the famous AutoHub show Fix Stops episode. Today we're talking about video MPIs and MPIs in general and technology in the service side of the house. And I thought I would start with an interview that I haven't released yet. Stay tuned for the full interview with a good friend of mine, Russell Hill, where we're talking about, shockingly, fixed operations and marketing. So let's start, see what Russell has to say. Come on, play. Should play. Come on. Oh, there we go.
They're electric. Only 6% of our customers want an electric car at all. So we got all this inventory that nobody wants, that they're forcing us to buy, and they have no answer for the tariffs. They don't know what's going to happen. So their answer is, let's wait and see.
So when you say that, what pops into my mind is control the controllables. I think I heard this from David Long, but anyway, what I mean by that is you don't really control much in the new car side. What you have control over is used cars and service. That's what you have complete control over. You should be focusing your time and energy there, because the average vehicle on the road is like 12, 13 years now. It's like they need service. So are we taking care of our customers? If you don't make some changes, then it's going to continue to happen. Tires and oil changes are the two biggest defection points. Dealerships are starting to figure it out. They're in the tire game. They understand, or maybe they don't, because I talk about it almost every single day, is that it's the single largest purchase that we make during the warranty period, typically is tires. And if we're not setting them up and talking about it and coaching them, etc., with the red, yellow, and green, all that's, if we're not doing that, and they go to Firestone and Goodyear and buy us, what do you think they're telling them? We do your filters, your blades, your alignments, batteries. They do all that stuff. So it's like, we got to stop that. And yeah, dealerships are in the tire game, but for 25, 30 years, we've educated our customers we can't compete. The margins are too low, but we understand today, yes, they are. But we can compete because we all get our tires from the same place. But 67% of those people, if they buy a set of tires, they continue to service with you and buy a newer pre-owned vehicle. That's one of the first things you got to land on. I mean, you gotta start talking tires.
So we did a show, ironically, on tires a couple weeks ago. Everyone needs to sell tires, so that was kind of interesting as well. But let's go with the trailer real quick. And the trailer's going to go by in a second because I'm looking for sponsors. Here we go. And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we actually have two wonderful guests on today. Probably we'll have Larry drop by because he always does. But I'm going to go by with whoever showed up first is what I always do. So I'm going to start with Candace. And also we have Jim on. So thanks for coming by and talking about MPIs and video, which is kind of an interesting topic, especially these days. So Candace, maybe you can tell us a little bit about you. And we know MPIs are powerful. I know dealers aren't good at training, but why should they do MPIs and who's going to train? So go ahead.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. So Candace Fry, I'm Director of Video here at Trade Pending. Trade Pending Video used to be called SnapCell, and back in the day, I was a beta tester for the SnapCell platform when I was selling vehicles. So I used to sell for Audi. I used this platform, reaching out to my customers and saw the benefits of that, and then came to work with the company back when it first came to North America. So been working with it all along, went from sales, and obviously we developed the service platform early on, and seeing the outreach of dealers now, seeing that they need to have video in the service drive and the benefits of that. So that we're seeing a whole increase of video outreach anyway. So video's everywhere. And if you're not doing it, you're behind the times. We can even send videos out to our Uber drivers now. So it's everywhere. Certainly with COVID, that, propelled video usage as well. And it's just increased from there. So if you're not using video, like I said, now's the time to get on it. And it doesn't have to be difficult. At the dealership, creating that trust and transparency for the customer and the dealership and the communication is key. And you'll find that, the benefits of it, obviously, it creates that trust, transparency. It's going to help make more money. The technicians love it because they're increasing their hours per RO. You're going to get the yes back from the customer so much quicker. And again, to be able to demonstrate the work that needs to be done to that customer, it eliminates the questioning of work. As we were talking tires, when you say you need new tires, if you can demonstrate what the tire depth is and what it's measuring at, instead of just putting that into an email or a phone call, when we can visually demonstrate the work that needs to be done, the customer is more likely to say yes to the work, and that's what it's all about.
You mean we sell tires at service departments? Who knew?
Maybe. And, certainly from from even to create videos around, if, a customer comes in and we're doing the MPI and, hey, they've got a clean bill, why not send a video that way as well? It's just showing that customer, again, they worked through the whole vehicle, no issues to report. That goes a long way as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, for increasing the work, but just in our communication with our customers as well. So creating video doesn't have to be, an arduous task either. But you definitely want to make sure that you're using a platform that you can, it's measurable, you can record it. Everything is there for your own dealership to know exactly what you have communicated to that customer. So the customer ever came back and said, you never told me I needed X and Y done, and you have that in video, I think that's really valuable.
Thanks for that. Jim, I'm not going to pronounce your last name because I probably would mess it up. From the high-tech Arch product that I think I first saw the product a couple of years ago at NADA. There was a blue Corvette, I think we did an interview. So tell us more about UVEYE and more about, video and why MPI video is powerful. I mean, obviously you guys take a lot of photos too, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's great to to be a part of this conversation. I think it's important. I think Candace touched on so many great points. My name is Jim Balin. I'm the regional sales director for UVEYE. UVEYE is what I like to call the most advanced vehicle inspection system in the world. It's fully automated. I have the distinct privilege of being employee number 3 with the company. So I was brought in as part of the original 5 employees to launch the go-to-market strategy in the U.S. And the technology came from the Israeli military use cases around looking for detections on the undercarriage of vehicles. So if you've seen the movies where someone's standing at a checkpoint with a mirror, walking around the car looking for issues, our CEO and his brother thought they were in computer vision in the Israeli military and thought we could build something better, something safer for the guy with the mirror, and something safer with the, for the folks in the car. So they created our first piece of equipment called Helios, and that sort of went all over the world, and we developed some really cool homeland security use cases. But then, because it is AI driven, the technology was so smart, it started to detect issues on the underneath of the car that were more service related. So they came to the US and decided to pivot to automotive, and I was fortunate to be one of the first couple that were brought in to craft the go-to-market strategy. We really pair up nicely with this conversation around video because, to Candace's point, trust and transparency, I think that's the fundamental aspect of video, right? Like, customers either don't buy from dealers or there's delays in that decision because they just don't have all the info that they need. Maybe, they drop their car off in the standard process, they flip the advisor their keys, get in the shuttle, get taken home, and then, dread that next call from the advisor, like, oh, please, I hope it's just the oil change I dropped it off for. Where video comes in, where UVEYE comes in specifically, is we capture a full inspection of the undercarriage, the wheels and tires, and the exterior. We do that in essentially real time, about 10 to 20 seconds. And then that builds an inspection report. Actually, you can see in my background, that becomes the basis of the write-up process for the customer. So now it's like introducing that video element up front and showing the customer everything that dealer is going to potentially ask them to spend money with them on. You get to see it up front transparently. It just creates a better selling environment, as Candace touched on, which was a smart point. Dealers are more equipped to provide a transparent walk around of the vehicle with that inspection report, and then customers feel good about it because they see everything up front. So video is essential in today's business, and our business I think elements of it from what we do at UVEYE to companies like Trade Pending, and even communication tools like My Karma or Komobi, I think wrapping those elements into a good customer experience, start to finish, I think helps customers feel good about spending money and keeps dealers transparent and creating a good experience.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Candace, so obviously you do a lot of sending of video in sales and in service and in other areas, and you integrate with other technology. What's the impact that you've seen of video versus not doing video at dealerships?
Increase in the sale, right? So it's increasing money for the service drive. Again, that customer response, the reviews, CSI scores, all of that when we are sending out videos and that customer, shares those videos to say, this is what my dealership sent me. It eliminates the questioning of the work that needs to be done. So again, just having that transparency, that increase in your hours per RO, selling jobs that you may not have if you haven't created that video, and just the whole customer satisfaction because they are believing what they are seeing, not what you are telling them in a written email or a phone call.
And they're probably a little conditioned to like TikTok and other video platforms where they're basically living on video, whether it be YouTube or elsewhere, I would assume.
Sure.
Jim, I mean, obviously you've given customers a lot of information when they drive into the drive. Do you find that video as part of that is like, is that a key part of that, or is it more still images for you guys?
I think it's a good combination of both. A lot of our still images are loaded up with AI enhanced detection. So we automatically detect a leak, as an example, or a scratch on the side of the car or a bulge on the tire rim damage. So that's pretty powerful, but we also capture video of the car going through. So it's a separate discussion around policy and customers saying, hey, you damaged my car while it was here. So there's a little bit of that CYA component of video that factors in with different companies, especially UVEYE. So critical on still, but also video. And for me, I think the impact goes back to that environment that video creates, where it's a great environment to sell into because there is more transparency. So I think impact wise, it's critical for sure.
And so what you're telling me, it's hard to argue with evidence that there was damage on your car when it came in, when you have 10,000 photos of it?
I don't know how I got volunteered, but I was always that guy that had to have that conversation when I was running stores. So that speaks to me directly. So when we got to UVEYE and started to figure out what the use cases were, that was sort of a theorized use case, like, hey, let's get it on the ground and see how it impacts. And that was one of the first things that really stood out, aside from tire sales, which I think you were touching on in the first segment that you played.
Yeah.
The ability to document condition upon arrival protects dealers. It also protects customers as well. So yeah, they truly believe what they see.
And the dealers, I'm just curious. I mean, obviously after the car is serviced, any dealers scan it afterwards, or does they do any of that before and after?
Yeah, I think that's a great point and a great topic. Some of our stores use it as an in and out process. They scan as they come in, they scan as they return it. That also goes for their loaner fleets. It's a great way to manage loaner fleets. You pull it through as you loan it out, the customer drives through as it returns. So we have a really cool ability to create a before and after inspection of that car.
Oh, fantastic. So Candace, I mean, obviously video, when you're doing the video, whether it be on the sales or service side, is that something that's done through the process as well? Like would they do like a video when the car comes in or after it's dropped off, and then after it's been, start the repair? Is that ever done?
Yes, that's a great best practice. So when we are training the stores on how to best use video, that's one of the things that is brought up, to be able to film the exterior, so when they are picking up their vehicle and they say, oh, that dent wasn't here. We have the video recording of, you bringing in your vehicle. And again, after repair, like you mentioned, to be able to send that video out. So to be able to build up a whole library under that customer, to be able to have that to always refer back to, I think is critical as well. So if somebody was just using their own phone, how would you track that? So to be able to have a platform where you can track it, build up the library, and have all that customer communication there is key.
Yeah, and then the other question is, like, when you're looking at before and after using video. So like before, when you had the clipboard with the pen, and you were doing some stuff there, and maybe you did a walk around, maybe you didn't. I mean, what's the upside for the dealer for using video and having that as part of their process? Like, what does that look like for them?
Saving the technicians time, saving the advisors time. So, I mean, with our platform, we have a digital MPI, so we can, customize it for OEM requirements so that when they are filming, they literally open up the app on their phone and it's TCPA compliant. They're not giving out their own phone number. Everything's stored in the cloud. And then they would follow along with that MPI, or they can just use the platform to create that video and attach that video in another program that they're using if they prefer, or they can take an MPI that they're already using through another platform and attach that documentation to the video and send it out. So just depending on how the store is set up, we would work through that. But to be able to open up the app, click on to record, to have, we are partnered with Dolby for noise canceling as well. So the professionalism of the videos being sent, we want that as well. But just be able to record so they can either, again, depending on how they're set up and how their process is, and it can always change, whether it's just a recording from start to finish where they create little clips and it's stitched together, or they follow along the MPI, and then anything that's attention recommended or required, the video icon comes on and they record the video. They send it to the advisor approves the video, and then they're the ones that communicate with the customer to be able to send out all the line items and cost of collection and all of that information, but really quite simple. And when we prep our customers to let them know they are going to be receiving a video, it's being sent via text and email. Customers always have their mobile with them, so they can watch that video. They can approve the work, and then we can even link to payment gateways via Stripe for them to pay for the work prior to coming in, so we can speed up the whole process. And when that customer comes in, avoiding the lineups, having to pay for their services.
So eliminate the "Are you done yet? What's going on?" panic scenario. Is that what you're saying?
Say that again, sorry.
Eliminate the panic situation, or is it done yet, or what's going on, or when can I figure that out, or can you call me back kind of scenario?
That's right. It's great to use video for that. Say you're working on the vehicle and you had estimated that they'd be picking up their vehicle at 4 o'clock, and next thing you know, it's going to run into the next day. To create a video to explain why customers, it calms them down a little bit when you can explain that way and show them their own vehicle. Fantastic.
Jim, what are your thoughts on before and after UVEYE? Like when you're using, I don't know, Hunter or random people with clipboards. I mean, what's the deal afterwards?
I think Candace mentioned a word, speed. That's a critical element for us. Is how quickly can we get an inspection result to an advisor to leverage in that conversation. I think that when you start to talk about transparency and speed and communication, I think all three of those elements factor into effectively selling in the service drive. I'm speaking a lot about UVEYE because that's my background, and that's really what we do. That's fundamentally what we provide is speed to inspection, is transparency, and it creates a great environment. Again, another great point that Candace made, showing every customer every time creates an expectation, creates an experience. So if the car is perfect, it's like, hey, Ian, great job. Your car looks great. Keep up the great work. The next time they come in, now you've set the expectation that they're going to go through a process that has a transparent inspection. They're going to walk through it. They're going to see everything on their car. So you're level setting what their expectation is, which also creates stability. Stability creates a little bit more of an easy transactional environment. Right. So that's what we see.
So the throughput, obviously, of people all showing up at 8 o'clock wanting to service their car or whatever that time is, the throughput of that inspection obviously then speeds up the amount of customers they can get in and out quickly, but more importantly, probably the throughput of the department, right?
Yeah, that's a huge element. I talk a lot about where we help dealers make money, where we help dealers save money. I mentioned policy, but there's the operational benefit too. To your point, what does that walk around process look like? Do they have an iPad? Are they walking around taking photos and videos? If you drive through our system, you get all that in about 10 seconds. So now the advisor's not only equipped with that inspection, but now they can truly advise the customer on everything that's going on with their car. So that speeds up the intake process, keeps the drive clear, and provides a more transparent customer experience. So win-win across the board for sure.
Fantastic. So Candace, obviously you're talking a lot about video with dealers, all departments, but How do you get techs and service writers to say, hey, like, you know, I'm happy with my laptop and my clipboard? Like, how do you get them to do more video? Or if they're doing some, how do you get them to do better video, maybe? Like, how do you do that?
Well, training obviously is very important. So to, you know, go with a platform that's going to provide that training and ongoing support as well. Definitely takes the service manager to be bought in to say, you know what, we are going to improve the way we are communicating with our customers, and video is going to be it. So whether you like it or not, we're going to make sure that you're all comfortable creating video. So leading by example, right? Perhaps having, you know, the cheerleader, you know, somebody at the store that they can, you know, start off small, even start with an advisor and 2 techs, and then try it out so that they can prove, you know, the benefits and the difference that video makes. Some dealerships actually will hire someone or allocate someone on a team where that's what they are doing all day long, is creating video. So they're working alongside the technician to create the videos, things like that. So it's just a matter of getting people outside of their comfort zone. But like you said earlier, Ian, you know, we are used to FaceTiming and TikToking and house partying back in the day, but you know, video, we're used to that. So it's just getting outside the comfort zone and then making it an expectation, not a suggestion, I think goes a long way in the service drive.
And a comment from Mikhail McKinnon. Let's go, Candace.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
I think it's Mikhail. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Jim, when you're looking at, I guess, change, I mean, going from, say, a Hunter machine to something that looks like something out of Stargate, you know, like, how do dealers deal with that? Like, how do they're like, wow, like, this is a lot of tech in one thing that lights up and looks like something out of sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Like, how do they deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. We're at, you know, 300 plus installs, and across those installs, you know, you've got advisors that have been writing service for 30 years and, you know, still using a scratch pad, and you've got advisors that have been writing it for 30 days and are looking for more tech-based process. Because the system's automated, it really, there's no work, there's no turning it on, turning it off, managing it or monitoring it. So it's pretty easy to work it into either one of those scenarios I just described. You know, you asked a great question about how do you get people to use video? How do you do that more in 2025? I think Candace's point is very smart, making sure that you equip your team with the right tool, right? Trade pending, you know, another, you know, My Karma, Komobi, like those sort of tools, UVEYE, you know, getting the right tools to your team to leverage that to create a better experience. You know, I think automation is another thing I'm a big proponent of. Obviously, that's a big factor of our technology is introducing some automation into that process. You got techs that have been turning wrenches for decades. And when you ask them they'll watch a video all day long on YouTube or whatever, but if you ask them to capture a video, they become very uncomfortable, right? So if it's making it easier for them, if it's introducing some automation and making sure that they have the right tools, I think all of that will play into getting more adoption, you know, better quality video and a better experience for the customer.
So are they overwhelmed by the amount of information? Like, I remember seeing the product for the first time a couple of years ago now, but like, you're sitting there looking at this kiosk or this, I don't know, I guess it's a kiosk, and it's like all this information. It's like, wow, like, is that a reaction that you get from people in service or customers at all, or no?
Fortunately, no. You know, it's more of like the cool element. Like, I've never seen it underneath of my car before. Here, zoom in on that. You know, like, I've seen that a million times in stores across the country. So the system itself, it's a lot. It's high tech. You know, the systems sit in the service drive, and the customers know they're driving through something. So it really creates an experience from the time they arrive to the time the advisor pulls up the inspection report to the time they're getting ready to leave. And that benefit really plays out in service. I spent 10 years as a used car manager. I wish I had this system. I could think of 1,000 times where I looked at a car and found out a couple days later it had some catastrophic service issue that I wasn't planning on. You know, huge benefit on the trade side. And then really cool things like new car delivery. You talk about a lot of information. we've now started to incorporate this in the new car delivery where a customer comes out of finance. It's a great way to hand off the service. Hey, this is Ian, your service writer. When you pull in, you're going to drive through that system. This is the inspection report that you're going to see. So we're setting expectations from minute one after a customer takes delivery of a new car. So it's a lot of information, and I hope we continue to add to that, to the data points that we capture. But I think the way we build out the inspection report is very easy for an advisor just to turn the screen around and go over what you see in the background there to make the customer understand exactly what's going on.
Understand. So with trade pending, obviously you're sending a video and you can personalize that, I'm assuming, talk to the customer. Do you find that customers respond to that a little better than, say, a text message or a phone call?
Absolutely. You'll see that in all aspects of using video. So if we're communicating and we're trying to reach out via text or emailing, first of all, we don't know when they've opened up the message or if they've listened to that message. So when you send video with our platform, you know exactly when they've opened up the message, how many times they've watched that video as well. So it's clear for you to see. There's the call to action that pops up on the screen for that customer to get right back in touch with the advisor as needed. And of course, you have that ability to approve work, like I mentioned previously. But back to Jim's point about setting expectations. So, not only the inspection that we're doing and sending video that way, but to set the tone for video in service right away. So after the sale, having the service manager or someone in service create an intro to service video, what that looks like when they would be coming in for their first inspection, where to park, where they come into, and what the service department looks like, things like that, to be able to have it sent out, I think is really valuable to have as well. And then also after we've serviced, to be able to send videos to thank our customers, like I've mentioned, is very valuable. And if you're not sending those thank you videos, I think that you're doing a disservice to your service department.
And do you find that the people that are shooting the video embrace it more when they see that reaction from a customer in person and through video, or?
Yes, absolutely. When they see that engagement, especially when technicians, first of all, see how quickly they get the yes back. So now they don't have to take the car off the hoist, start working on another vehicle. Ideally, we've prepped our customers and we get that yes, they can carry on with the work. So technicians are quite happy with it. So those that may be a little apprehensive at first, once they see the ease of use and how quickly we get that approval, it definitely gets them excited to create more videos.
Yeah, and if you want some instruction on how to create a TikTok video, we actually, one of our sponsors, Retail Resilient, they did one at, I think it was Used Car Week. They had a full room of general managers doing a TikTok video. And it was actually really funny to watch the general managers try and do this because she had them like with different roles in it. But the thing that was interesting from a statistic that she shared, which I thought was really interesting around video, was that the most watched videos on TikTok and YouTube and auto are from technicians. So if you're in the service drive and you're not sure on maybe training your technicians to interface with customers because they might be a little rough around the edges, not to beat them up, customers are curious about what goes on in service. And they don't really hear from the person servicing their car. They hear from the service writer, they might hear from a parts person or service manager or sales manager, but they don't generally hear from service, which is kind of interesting. So if you had to start, so you're a dealer that's going old school, they got the clipboard, they got the kiosk, they're standing way back from the customer, not really interfacing. I mean, where do they start? Like, how does that conversation start with a new dealer that says, I'm debating this, I'm not sure. Like, where do they start? Like, why would they upgrade? And I think we'll go with Jim on this one.
Yeah, I think dealers know that they need to get up with the times. I talk to a lot of dealers that like you just described, where maybe their team is driving that narrative. They may know, he or she knows that they've tried to implement things in the past. Maybe they failed, they've struggled because the team wasn't willing to adopt. So I think driving home that point that one, your customers are demanding it. They need to have the transparency, like when they go to an Apple store, they go to these other retail places. There's a ton of transparency now, and it's all on the phone, and that's how they're used to buying and transacting. So if the dealer's not operating in that space, again, excellent point by Candace. If you don't have this, you're missing out, right? So that's where I start the conversation around getting a dealer more thinking and more in the mindset of transacting in today's business environment. It's funny, the point you were just making, I feel like the service department is like the behind the curtain element of the dealership, right? And I don't want to date myself, but some of the stores I worked at many years ago, I remember when they were remodeling and they would put a window into the service drive, and that was like cutting edge, to like let people see what that looks like. And now when you have companies like Trade Pending and some of the others that I've mentioned, that tech video component is critical to customers feeling comfortable about doing business at the dealership. The next step, or a little bit of an enhancement to that, is from UVEYE's perspective, what we found is we are a really strong first step to the tech video, to that video process, because now as an advisor, I can say, hey, Candace, here's your car, here's everything that's going on with it. We did detect a leak. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have Ian, your technician, look at it, put it on a lift, and then do a video to explain exactly what's going on with it. So what we found is we marry really well to a dealer that has tech video, or a dealer who's a little bit more like what you described, a little bit behind the times. We create now an environment where they can get right, scratch pad and the whole nine, going over an oily RO. And
why would I not want to use paper? What would be the reason?
Right.
Yeah, like I just whip it with the pen and I check a few things and like no one says anything, it's fine, right?
Yes, exactly. I've worked at a few of those stores. So yeah, I mean, we create a cool environment where if a dealer is like what you described, we put this in their service drive, cars drive through, and the inspection result comes through, and we have a team that's built to really train any type of dealer or staff.
I got another comment from Christopher Kimball. Thanks, Christopher. Techs making videos and explaining their recommendations is the equivalent to a patient getting the prescription from the doctor versus the receptionist. Who would you rather hear from?
I was just about to say that, Christopher.
That's a great point.
So true.
We got another comment, seeing is believing, from Lauren Childs.
All right.
Yeah. So Candace, I mean, obviously you got those old school dealers. They're saying, hey, like, I don't like new technology. I use a laptop because I have to, because the manufacturer says I got to plug it in or whatever. How do they start? Like, how do they make that leap from, say, 1983 or 1975 to 2025? Like, how do they do that?
Oh, it's just starting. So it's starting just, again, like I said, with a small team, getting somebody there has to be somebody on the team. And if they don't have somebody on the team, then to perhaps hire somebody if they feel, maybe a lawn attendant. I've heard this many times where they've hired someone specific to work alongside the technician. And then that's what they're doing all day long, is shadowing the technician, creating the videos, sending it to the advisor. And then as they, again, see the results with that, and then move to, okay, and again, making it where it's, it's not a suggestion, it is what you are going to be doing. So it's part of your, your job description is to create videos out to that customer. Some dealerships where they have it where the advisor is, doing that overview, but the technician, seamless when we can have the technicians create the videos, send it to the advisor, send it out. And when they see how easy it is, that pushback that we get, most times they're quite impressed with how easy it is to actually use it. So it's actually, seeing is believing. Once they start using it, it's not cumbersome. That's the biggest thing. If it feels cumbersome and it feels like a chore, they're not going to do it. So we have to have a platform like ours that is really simple and reliable to be able to get that information out.
Yeah, it's mandatory, right? It's not like you can sort of do this.
Yeah.
You can sort of answer a phone.
Exactly. You want to set yourself apart from the competition, use video. If you're not using it, you are behind the times.
And what about interaction with CRMs and tools like Xtime and DealerFX and others? Like, what about a guy who says, hey, I'm already doing something. Why do I have to add this?
Yes, well, often you'll find that the video component to the MPIs that are being sent out to the customer are buried along in that MPI. The video is not the forefront, right? So the information, the jargon is there, but the actual video of their vehicle is not there. So when you send out information with our platform, the message is in the video and the documentation is there to support it. So again, we've got the digital MPI if they choose to follow along with that. So the customer just clicks on it and it opens up the digital MPI that can be printed off as well. Or they just take that MPI from whatever software they're using and attach it out with the video. So the message has to be in the video first and foremost for it to be effective.
And Jim, I mean, you guys obviously would integrate, I'm assuming, with like CDK and Reynolds and PBS and Tachyon, all those guys too, right?
We have a couple really exciting integrations live currently with some to come. So Reynolds and Tachyon are both live. And that's really helped our dealers in terms of adoption, usage, and creating a better experience. And then other cool integrations like the Auto is being built out. Dealer Tire just went live. Yes, for me, I feel like integrations are key for us to continue to scale because I want to be everywhere that our dealers are working currently. And integrations are part of that.
So, you know, obviously the biggest complaint I hear from dealers, not to beat them up, is, oh, multiple logins. I got to figure out new tools. I want it to be easy. My people are too busy, this kind of stuff. I mean, how difficult is it for dealers to use these products? And more importantly, is it something that like they're going to moan and whine about a little bit too much? I mean, what do you think?
We are very fortunate. We just haven't seen a lot of that. The inspection report is one page. It's very easy to navigate, and the customer is generally excited to see it because it's not something they get to see often. So the teams generally adopt pretty easily, and the customers like it on their side. You know, I think that's probably the easiest element of our technology is just the ease of use, the ease of share. That's probably the best way to describe it.
And Candace, I mean, obviously, as we roll into the 2025, and there's obviously a lot of change, there's a lot of new tools out there. Customers' expectation is probably high because they probably paid a little too much for cars a couple of years ago. You know, is this creating that better experience for the customer where they're going to appreciate that more than, say, the dealer who doesn't do that? I mean, what do you think?
Absolutely. Yes, it goes without saying, you know, when we are providing that perceived level of customer service, so video, you know, makes them feel like the dealership has gone above and beyond rather than that phone call. We're providing, again, all that information, creating that trust and transparency. Customers absolutely love it. Dealers will see that in the reviews, in the CSI scores, you know, to be able to have that information. The other thing, you know, with our platform, and we spoke about this earlier about, you know, the you know, to be able to communicate and what's going on with that vehicle. If the vehicle is out there, the technician's working on it, and we're not getting the yes from the customer, to be able to go live with our platform. So it's like having a FaceTime, but you can communicate live. So to be able to, again, you know, calm that customer down, to be able to explain and to have those live conversations all recorded and stored for the dealerships. You know, liability and everything so that they're clear on what they've said to that customer, and also to be able to share that back with the customer so there's never any question about what work has been done. So just overall, you know, that customer experience from that initial introduction to video to service to the service manager thanking that customer for servicing at the dealership. To be able to show the vehicle, to be able to live stream if needed, send photos if needed. I think all of that just goes to a way better experience nowadays than pen and paper.
Thanks for that. And Jim, obviously OEMs are interested probably in, I don't know, service sales, parts sales, repairs, recall stuff. Like what kind of data are you providing them when it comes to all the information about these cars you're scanning or taking photos?
Yeah, from the OEM perspective, that's been really interesting to see develop. So General Motors and Volvo were early investors because they saw transparency being a big driver of retention, customer success. So that's what's driven those partnerships. Toyota was just in our most recent round of funding, which we're super excited about. So, you know, other things on the horizon with BMW and Mercedes in the works. But I think they all share that more transparency, a better process, a more consistent process. They're looking to create that in their stores and their, you know, at their locations across the country. That's what we do. So they see us as a good pairing. Just one other quick note on the thing we were just talking about in terms of integrations. So we have a lot of good integrations and other great integrations being built. What's cool is we can stand alone. So you can just flip the screen around, go over our inspection report, and then move to whatever tool you use. Or we can live within communicating tools. Maybe Candace, we should take the conversation offline and talk about where those integration opportunities could be for us. But we are integrated with communicating tools as well, like Mobi and MyKarma, and love to have that conversation with Trade Pending as well. But so we can live inside of those communicating platforms, or with a click of a button, you could text our inspection report as well without integration. So definitely adaptable in either scenario.
Fantastic. Well, so we're getting closer to the end of the show now, shockingly. Obviously, dealers are always looking at what can I do today? What are the top 3 things? What is the one thing I could do? I got lots on my plate. I mean, what do you think I guess the 3 things they could do to get started today, and what should they prioritize? And obviously, where would they find out more about your company? So go ahead, Candace.
Yes, tradepending.com. Certainly to look at all of the product offerings that we have and how it can help in service, especially. But just to make a decision to go ahead with video. So no matter what it is, to be on a platform that is measurable, trackable, and just to get going, start small. To maybe come up with only repairs at a certain level. You're going to create a video first to get started. And then eventually you want it to be where every vehicle has that video so that it is recorded. And then, of course, I would say if you're working with video, to thank your customers, to be able to get comfortable on camera, thank your customers for coming in, pre-record some videos and things like that you could have to share out as well. I think that's a good way to start. But come up with a plan and find out, what is important to you. Is it going to be every RO or a certain dollar, and start there.
Fantastic. And Jim, what's the top 3 for you? What do you think dealers should do? How big of a deal is it to install this huge thing in your dealership? Does it just fly it in, or how does that work?
Pretty much. I would say first thing is uplift your team with the right technology. I hope that's UVEYE in every store across the country. Just as a recommendation, but whatever that might be, make sure you're uplifting your team with the right technology, the right communicating platforms, the right inspection platform to be able to provide the best customer experience. In transparency, customers feel comfortable. When they feel comfortable, they're going to buy from you. That all ties together. So tech, video, and communicating tools and inspection tools like UVEYE really drive success. So that's the place I would say start. In terms of UVEYE, it's UVEYE.com. We're all over socials with really cool, compelling data and testimonials and cool influencers out there talking about UVEYE and showing it in dealerships. That's a great way to see what we do. Just appreciate the conversation. I think it's important to talk about elevating dealers and the experience, and that's what we're doing.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for taking the time today to learn more about MPI video companies, big arches that glow, other things that take 10,000 photos, and of course sending video, which I think is something that people say, hey, I can communicate with video, I can communicate with still images, but thanking customers and creating that higher level experience, I think will not only get you more retention and help you sell more products and services, it hopefully will eliminate some of the irritation that you get from customers that go, is it done yet? Where's my car? When am I going to get it back? What's it going to cost? I think that always the big challenge when I ran stores and having a family history in the business was when I dealt with service departments, it was more about managing that chaos of hundreds of people showing up in a day and how do I make sure that they're all handled properly? And I don't think that's just auto. I think that's in general. When you look at things like airports, like for NADA this year, I was at Atlanta Airport, and that was interesting to try and see them trying to manage that. But when you look at video, since people are so comfortable with these type of devices that are in their hands, whether it be Apple or Android, doesn't matter. They have those attached to their hand, whether they're 20 years old, 18 years old or 65. And I think video is naturally fit to that format. If you are looking for a synopsis for the month, we do a month-end show every month-end. That'll be on Monday. And then stay tuned for more details on the next tariff show, which I'm sure will be fun, just because there's lots of opinions on that side. And then lastly, if you wanted to reach out to either of these fine guests for my show, there will be details below, but you can obviously check out Trade Pending and UVEYE. And have yourself a good evening. Thanks for taking the time. And thanks for asking all the questions. Also, a special thank you for people for comments and thoughts, including the endorsement of videos, which I don't see too much on a show where someone's like, yeah, that's what you got to do. So I think you guys are on the right track. And have yourself a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.